Well, this will be a surprise to me and you guys. Hey, what's up? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Esparza, coming to you live right now. Now, I know things are weird. Tomorrow, we're expecting a Fight Island extravaganza, and we will get to that in a second. But before we do, if I can implore you guys to do a solid for the show, it's very easy. All you have to do is go to No-Gi BJJ Gear. That's No-Gi BJJ Gear. Use the promotional code Grappling Hour 15. Get 15% off of what you're looking there. You put in your cart, and there's a certain Corona weight champ rash guard that's on there. And I think a lot of people would try and tell you that you're not the Corona weight champ, but I know you, the person watching the show, I know you have done the things that are necessitating that kind of rash guard because you yourself are a Corona weight champ, hashtag. And if somebody has an issue with that, they can come beat you up and possibly get COVID. Who knows anymore at this point? So imagine my surprise when earlier this morning, Best Coast time, super early in the morning, I get a message from a young GARRY TONON that just says, hey, I'll tell you what's going on over here at Fight Island. And I said, holy shit, Gary just offered to be a correspondent on our show. So yes, GARRY TONON is actually going to be cornering somebody while at Fight Island, but he is ready to give us a live report. So he has gone, I don't know if this is a promotion or a demotion, honestly, from being guest to correspondent for us here at the Grappling Hour. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Girthy. No, just GARRY TONON. We know Gary.
Nice try.
Gary.
Nice try.
And listen, dude, I don't want to stick the landing on that one. There's a lot of things I really want to try and hit, but that's one I'm good on avoiding. How are you, sir?
I'm good. We're here live from Yas Fight Island.
Hold on.
In Abu Dhabi.
You didn't say it right. It's actually Yas Queen.
Yes.
Gary.
A little marine action in the background.
Oh, it's beautiful, dude. Look at that.
Look at that.
How does someone as Forrest Gump-like as you get pulled into a Fight Island scenario?
So my buddy Ryan Benoit came over to train with us a couple times at Penzo's, and he's been looking for a new camp to train at for a meaningful period of time. I coached him and cornered him for a fight in South Korea before, and I was actually a part of the camp with him before that. So we've been working together for a little bit now, probably about a year or so. And he got stuck on the Fight Island card. He was actually supposed to be on a Vegas card, I think, before that. Was it, Jamie? Yeah, he was supposed to be on a Vegas card before that, and then that fight got moved to this card. So we ended up coming here. When he originally told me we were coming, he told me the dates, and I'm like, oh shit, we got to be out there for like 2 weeks. I'm like, damn. So I didn't really know what to expect either, man. I didn't even really know where I was going. I didn't know what the hell Fight Island was until he said that's where he was having his fight. So
I realized when I saw you put up that you were going to go corner him, I said, that's a great experience. But that's also a young man's game, because I just thought of all the logistical nightmare things I would have to do as being an old person going out there, being like, first the wife, then the puppy, then my family, then I got to make sure my 401k is good. Like, I was just I was like, yeah, I mean, it's got to be a pretty dope experience for somebody says to you, hey, you want to come to Fight Island? You go, fuck yeah, I do.
Yeah, man. I mean, also, my own career right now in MMA is a little bit on hold because we can't get into Asia just yet. So, I'm a little bit more open to be able to do this. Under normal circumstances, if I was doing my own fights, it'd probably be pretty hard for me to come out for this amount of time. Unless he was fighting close by or something, to go all the way out here would be very difficult for me, for anybody, even if it was like, somebody that I've been training with for years and years. So, but yeah, I had an opportunity to do it. So yeah, I said, let's do it. Also, I want to coach at the highest level one day in mixed martial arts as well as jiu-jitsu. So to me, this is like an early opportunity to coach at the highest level. So, yeah, I'm excited about it.
I mean, obviously, the whole Danaher Death Squad was splitting squad over the weekend and everybody got a different destination. But I felt like those losers got the short end of the stick while you're out there racing fucking race cars and enjoying the high life of just basically, like, it's great when I look at your Instagram and your stories and I see you're just sunbathing outside, and I said, we're all getting a very different COVID experience.
So that was not without some sacrifice, though. And everybody that started this journey did not make it, by the way. So anyway, basically, so I didn't really understand like how, you know, strict and serious this whole thing was with, like, you know, the restrictions and, you know, the testing and everything like that, like what they were actually doing, you know, to be able to put on these shows. They're taking it quite seriously. So basically, when you arrive in Vegas, as soon as you enter the hotel, you're no longer allowed to leave for like 24 hours, and you get tested as soon as you get there. I think, you know, what's nice is they're not doing that nose test anymore. They're doing a throat swab, which is way better, because like that thing looks terrifying. Thank God I never had to get one of those. They're doing the throat swab, although I do almost like gag and cry every single time it happens. So
many jokes. Just keep moving before I have to stop and do them.
I think I got that from my mother. But so
like, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I know you got me, but I was just like, keep moving, move along. If you don't stop somewhere, I've got to do it.
So yeah, man. So we got tested. Then we had to stay in there for 24 hours. Just 100% not able to leave like your room. Like if you crack open the door, there's a security guard in the hallway. Like, hey, what do you need? You know, like if you order food to the room, like they bring it to you. You're really not supposed to go anywhere. I think after they did the test and they confirmed whether or not you were COVID positive, and a couple people were. Frankie's opponent was one of them, and I think some corners of some people. Once they confirmed that you weren't positive, I think you were allowed to like kind of do some workouts in the parking lot or something, but we just kind of stayed in the room. I had Ryan doing drills, like wall drills up against a mattress laid against the wall. Like it was some pretty weird shit. But yeah, it was, you got stir crazy, man. It's weird just being like cooped up in a room, like for an extended period of time. And then like, once that's over, we just flew our way down to Abu Dhabi, and, that process was fine, but it's just a crazy long flight, right? Pretty empty. So that was, you know, it's a nice flight. You got a like basically open seat to sleep in. But once we got here, holy shit, was I surprised at what I found then. We were probably greeted by at least 40 people in hazmat suits, with like spray bottles spraying down like all of the luggage, like making it rain, dude, just all over. Just like my bag was soaked. Like my MMA bag was soaked with fucking antiseptic or whatever it was that they used. And so then we're checking in the hotel. We're all like very precisely placed, and everybody's got to have their mask on. And then like you get into the hotel room, and once again, now we can't leave. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. We don't even get to the hotel room yet. We had to get tested again. So as soon as we arrive, we get tested again. And now when we get to the testing center, which is in the hotel, now there's like 100 people in hazmat suits fucking running around. And they're very nice people, but there's just something very unsettling about a bunch of people like dressed in blue hazmat suits. I'm going to post a couple pictures on my Instagram. We got some video today because I was just so startled by the whole experience. I didn't even think to take out my phone. Yeah, man. So we did the testing again. They're jamming shit in my throat. It's getting less and less traumatic as it goes on. You know, you get used to it after a while, you know? So then you just sit in the hotel room, man, and you just walk back and forth. And you can't do anything for 48 hours. I think during that 48 hours, the only place we could go was we had to get retested again a second time the second day. So we got freedom, I want to say 2 a.m. today. So it's like 10 o'clock now. So we got it about 2 a.m. today. And then even then, you're not really like, I can't just go wherever I want in Abu Dhabi. Like there's only very specific locations that I can go to. So I have to go, like that racetrack that you saw me like go to, like that's one of the places you're allowed to go to. I think normally you're allowed to go to the beach, but they halted transportation there because the fights are going on soon. So I think when that's happening, that's halted. And then like there's like where you saw me like sunbathing or whatever is like a pool, but you're not allowed in the pool, you know? So like you just kind of like, you can sit and like enjoy the sun, I guess. But enjoying the sun is a kind of a strong word, because you can only really enjoy the sun out here for like, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes before you're dead. You know, I burned up pretty quick. So, I mean, it's cool, man. You know, I mean, the racing thing was like a once in a lifetime experience for sure. I think we're going to go golf. I think tomorrow there's like a golf course we're allowed to access. But again, you know, we're still kind of like cooped up in you know, one place and not really allowed to go anywhere else outside of it. So
when does Ryan fight?
Ryan fights Wednesday, or actually, well, Thursday our time. So Thursday at 6 a.m. our time, Ryan will fight, but it's like Wednesday night for you guys. So Wednesday at like 6 p.m. or 7.
I think we'll be doing some form of a fight companion if I'm coherent or not super drunk, depending on what kind of thing is there. I'll tell you this. So training right now is at a very weird stage for a number of people. And I know there's training at home. And I know that people are doing that. Some people are doing it at their gyms. Some gyms are open. Some gyms are not. But I can't begin to understand what it's like to corner someone and have them do drills, especially when you do see those photos of Dana White like a king going like, look outside my window. Look at these guys. And it's like, what else are they supposed to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
What does that look like to you as a coach? Like, how do you create that atmosphere for the athlete when it is severely different for everybody involved?
Yeah, well, I mean, the good news is that we got, you know, obviously most of the work is done before you get it, right? So like, you know, I mean, if you had a proper training camp and you didn't just get like, I mean, you know, for like what Masvidal had to do, you know, stepping in last minute, you know, that's like a little bit of a different story. Like, I don't know how much he was training before that. I'm guessing, considering he took the fight, that he has been. But most of the time, like at least if you got some notice before the fight, you're pretty much prepared. And then the last little bit is just drills and stuff. People like to do pad work. I'm a weirdo. I like to spar, you know, still like maybe like 2 or 3 days before the fight I stop. But yeah, I mean, so you make do, man. I mean, it's a little weird, you know, like being boxed in a hotel room and doing it, sweat flying everywhere. And, you know, like I said, using a mattress for wall work. And I mean, even now that we have access, so now we don't have to do drills in a room. Now we have access to like a little bit of, or well, it is in a room, but it's like we have access to mats and like stuff like that. It's a small matted area. It's not much different than what we were doing before. The only thing we were doing before was we were laying down blankets over like this carpet that they have, and we're doing drills like that. So we couldn't do much jiu-jitsu. So at least I can do some of the jiu-jitsu drills now because we got a padded surface. But man, I just made do with what I got. You know, I did mostly standing stuff, and you know, there's plenty of work to do with that. So I feel like we were still able to keep our athlete relatively prepared and ready to do what he needed to do. So I don't really feel like it was a huge hang up. I think more than anything, it's just the weirdness of like kind of being cooped up and stuck in the same place for extended periods of time. I think that probably has a bigger effect on everybody as a whole, their mentality, than the training environment, in my opinion.
I mean, for sure, dude. I mean, it obviously got to you if you volunteered to come on the show when I didn't prompt you. Like, I knew, I go, man, how hard up is this man that he needs a friend right now? That he is messaging me and being like, any hosts need to talk to Garry Tonon? I'll do it right now for free. And I appreciate that. But I just, I felt for you because I realized, I mean, we don't know everything about what is going on there, and I think you do a good job of explaining it, but we're only getting reports. So when I see Laura Sanko showing us what you described as a bunch of people in hazmat suits, all I can think of is, holy shit, it's the scene from Monsters, Inc. Like, they've literally come to clean all of you down, and one of you might get taken away, and we've seen that.
Yes. Yeah, it's a real thing. So they have a 5th floor here reserved for anybody who tests positive while they're here. So, and if you test positive, you're moved to that 5th floor and you're not allowed to leave unless you need to go to the hospital. So I guess, I don't know how long you stay. I'm guessing 2 weeks is the usual quarantine. So I'm guessing you're stuck. Me and Ryan were talking about it. Like, I don't know what their plan is. I don't know if they're just going to continue to host fights here, but like, let's say like, you know, they're not going to host another fight for a while. And like, I'm pretty sure we're the only flights in and out of Abu Dhabi right now. Mm-hmm. So like, let's say somebody like tests positive and has to quarantine for 2 weeks after the last UFC fight that's held here. Like, how are they getting back home? Like, are they going to deal with that? Like, Are they paying for the person's stay if they have to quarantine? Like, these are all questions that Ryan's not 100% sure of, because usually it's tradition in the UFC to not pay for those sorts of things. Like, I remember for Ryan's fight, he hurt his rib or something leading up to one of his fights, and that was one of the ones I was supposed to corner for in the States. I think it was going to happen in Texas, like in his hometown, which was going to be really cool. But he hurt his rib the last minute, and like, dude, they weren't even paying for, like, you know, medical expenses for him to get his rib looked at and stuff. Like, it's just, you know, there's no compensation like after you train for fucking 8 weeks and then you can't fight. Like, they don't give a fuck. So I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, oh yeah, you could foot the bill for your 2-week stay in fucking the hotel at Abu Dhabi. I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. It's hard to say.
I mean, I just know that when I read an article that said, hey, good news, they're going to test people after the fights at Fight Island for a change. And I said, they weren't doing that before? Like, holy fuck.
I don't know what they were doing before. I just know now it's literally like every fucking day. Like, there hasn't been a day I've been involved in this that I haven't been tested. I was tested today, even though we were let, you know, I have this fucking wristband. We were let out of quarantine or whatever. We don't have to stay in the room anymore, but I was still tested today.
Yeah, and I mean, the good news is I appreciate the UFC catching these things. And on the one side, you obviously are happy that they're looking out for your health. On the other side, you feel for people like Frankie Edgar, where you go, shit, that would have been a fun fight. And I know Pedro from, you know, he used to train out here in California, and he was nothing but a gentleman and an awesome guy. So I said, that's going to be a great scrap between those two of them. So that was a massive bummer to see that happen.
Yeah, it sucks, man. It's really, like, just disappointing as a whole. But I mean, like, there's so much that's going on right now, man, like with everything that, like, it's like it almost feels like a drop in the bucket, like in terms of like the concerns and the stresses of the world. But obviously it means the world to Frankie, I'm sure, you know, sorry, who was he fighting again? What was his name?
It's Pedro Munoz.
I'm sure it, you know, means the world to him too, you know, and that sucks. And also it's a big deal for the card and things, but you know, I mean, there's so much happening right now. I mean, honestly, you know, all things considered, like, I'm just happy that this is possible. You know, I mean, if this is what it takes for this to be possible, and, like, you know, every once in a while a fight's going to get scrubbed because somebody tests positive or whatever, I mean, so be it, whatever. I mean, if this can continue and, like, people can still work, and, like, I'm happy to have some way to make that happen, man. I'm all for compromise. You know, that's been my stance on this. You know, all the while I post a lot of, you know, stuff about my views about the whole situation. But the dude, like, I'm all for anything that pushes us in the direction of, like, getting back to some sort of normalcy. You know, even if that involves, like, intense restrictions or whatever at first, that's fine with me. But, you know, I'm happy to just be involved and to be a part of the show right now.
I mean, that's the whole thing for me is that what I do appreciate about you is that you are trying to search for something. And a lot of times you will try to put it out there as bluntly as possible, and it does come off with an almost childlike, like, angsty whininess to it. But at your core, I do know that you're acting out, and you're essentially saying, like, this is frustrating. And I think the thing that I've tried to implore upon people is, none of us have been here before. Like, none of us know how to deal with this. There isn't some sort of elder that goes, come with me, I survived the flu of 1918. I'll show you how to do this.
Sure.
Like, even if they were here, they wouldn't know how to get around it. But to me, I just thought, lucky for you, because I'm pretty sure as you saw things getting continuously worse and worse here, you were like, yep, I'll take that flight to Abu Dhabi. One, please.
Sure. I mean, man, again, anything to break the monotony of what was going on, for sure. I mean, you know, I took a match in Texas, and I was going to corner guys, and, like, man, any excuse to go do something other than, you know, just sit in your house all day. I mean, thankfully I'm training, but you know, and dude, I don't know what the people that have been, like, just literally just in their house all day, every day for the last several months, like, dude, I feel for you guys, because I don't know if I'd be able to mentally be with it right now. I don't know if I would have fucking jumped off a roof by this at this point. Like, man, this is the only thing keeping me sane is being able to continue to be involved in this thing that I love. So, you know, it's a tough thing for everybody.
Obviously, and I do appreciate your candidness on that, because I do feel like a lot of people are in varied stages. It's nice when I see a lot of people out there training like normal, and obviously, we've gone through so many different things where we see different people's situations going. I was curious though, for you initially, there might have been a small speed bump, but you were getting back to training. Did you have any difficulties like mentally, just in terms of like being away? Did you have any withdrawals at any time when this was going on from just the jiu-jitsu side?
Oh, a little bit. There was a brief period where I wasn't able to come in. It was like for a period of time, like we were like 100% shut down and we weren't training or anything. So yeah, a little bit, man. Then we found a way to get it going, and I started doing like stuff at my gym before my gym had to fold, and then we finally started getting stuff going in New York again. I definitely went through it, but certainly not to the degree that I know a lot of, even guys that are like close friends of mine that, because obviously everybody can't, like, we're professionals, right? So we got to get back to training, right? But everybody can't get back to training because it's not, in most places it's not legal right now. So what are we going to have? 150 people show up at an academy where it's not legal to train? Like, it's going to become quite obvious, what's going on. I think it's legal for professionals. I think there's an exemption, at least in New Jersey. I don't know about what's written in New York. I think professional athletes are like able to train now. But yeah, man, even for those guys, I know they're, they want to get back to train and they've been missing it. And I talk to them and they're like, yeah, I haven't left my house for fucking 3 months. And I'm like, Jesus,
I think it's difficult because even myself, like, I definitely want to try and do the right thing. But the first day I went to go train, even just hitting mitts, like, me, I don't look like somebody who should hit anything. I don't even look like somebody who knows how to do that. And I was very forthcoming with a couple of my friends. And I said, one of my friends was taking COVID tests every week just to say, hey, listen, I'm going to work with a couple people, but I want to make an effort. And I said, I want to give that guy business because to me, I'm like, I want to help those who are trying their best to navigate their way through this. And if their business is impacted, how can we support these people? Because I think that's the hidden gem of this whole thing is I think we're trying to find new and better ways of doing it. And I got to tell you, man, the minute I just started doing something physical and moving, my brain started working a little bit better because I know what this does for me. And I think it's been difficult to watch people all go batshit crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I 100% agree with you. I got even, and this wasn't even just the COVID stuff, around the same time this whole thing started, I actually got I got stem cell therapy on my elbow. So I wasn't really supposed to be moving it for like 6 to 8 weeks. Like, they kind of like want you to be mobile because it's supposedly like the stem cells won't have the greatest effect or whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to claim like I understand what the fuck goes on with all that. But basically I was out of training for 6 to 8 weeks. I could show up and watch and stuff, but like I wasn't able to like do anything physical. Like, really wasn't able. But the doctor said I wasn't able to lift anything heavier than a coffee cup in my hand. I would occasionally go lift some things with my left hand or whatever, but like it just wasn't the same, man. I couldn't do anything. So even that just gets me into kind of a state of depression. And it's fucking tough.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you were able to do it. Is the elbow feeling better now though?
Oh man, way better. It's hard to say whether, a lot of people ask me whether or not, I think like the stem cells worked. I don't know, because I very rarely have 6 to 8 weeks off of training. So that could very easily just be the healing that I needed in that particular area. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It feels great now. Maybe it was the stem cells, maybe it was the rest, but either way, it's good.
Yeah, I know.
100%.
For me personally, my back is always terrible, but it always is in a place where I go, yeah, I guess a time off would be good. And so I want to say you can almost do a chart of how it probably recuperated. And then immediately, because I'm not doing anything active, was like, no, it's going to get worse now. Yeah. So, cut to me looking around and being like, with my dog over here, looking at her and going like, well, let's both get less fat. We're going to take a walk. Because I'll tell you one thing that really hit me that was a really silly thing, which is she went to her vet at some point And the doctor, I don't have kids, but the doctor looks at the puppy and goes, she could stand to lose like a pound. And I got to tell you, man, it's one thing to call me fat, but to call like your daughter, your puppy fat and being like, she's going through a lot, man. You don't understand. This whole COVID thing's really messing with her, dude. It's just, I was like, dude, oh my God. So now I'm like taking on a walk and being like, we both got to get less fat. I did want to tell you this because we talked briefly. You know, I worked on a thing and I did reach out and you were very nice to record something for a project that'll come out later. But I was very happy to talk with you at that time. But it was just a few days later you announced about your gym. So I did want to express my condolences for that. I did want to ask, since this is our first time really talking about it, though, what are your plans now for that? Because if there's one thing I know about you is that you're fairly stubborn. So I don't really see that as the end of your gym. It's just, I think you're probably going to wait out a little bit of COVID, but what is the game plan in your head at least?
So what I would have done what I was probably going to do if I was allowed to stay there was right around the time that I ended up having to close the gym, which I want to say, let's see, March. Maybe I think it was end of March, I want to say, that I had to have everything out of there. It was like by April 1st. Right around that time, I was thinking to myself, and I was seeing other people doing it too, I probably would have just started running classes. Like, I don't know if it would have been the same schedule or something, but I probably would have just been, you know, running the school. But the problem is like, now I don't actually have a gym. And imagine, and this is the way I feel like I could put it in perspective for many people, especially all my students who are obviously dying, you know, many of them are dying to get back to training, and they see other gyms open, you know, whether it's illegally or whatever the case may be. But they see other people training and they're like, oh man, like we really want to do that. And I kind of put it to them this way. If you had a bunch of money saved up, okay, I don't know, you have fucking 50 grand saved up and you're like, okay, I want to open a gym. Would you do it right now? Probably not, right? Like it doesn't really make sense. Okay. So I was all on board with doing what everybody else was doing, and kind of just like doing some below board, you know, classes or whatever. But now that we don't have a gym, it's like, do I want to go and find a facility, go through all the work of doing that, pay a lawyer to negotiate a contract, sign a lease for X amount of years, and then find out, oh, hey, by the way, can't train jiu-jitsu for another 2 years, you know, something like that, you know, some craziness. So I didn't want that to happen. So I've been kind of keeping things on hold. I've been looking around a little bit and, you know, listening to people tell me about some opportunities, but I haven't really been too hard into really finding a spot because it was still illegal, you know, to open a school. I didn't want to sign a contract for a lease under the premise that it's going to be illegal to train. I thought it was just too big of a risk for the business. And if I had lost another investment of what I lost in the previous business, I might not be in a position where I had the money to, you know, start in the same spot that we were before with the same amount of space, etc. I would have had to like kind of start from scratch. You would have to start with a smaller gym, this sort of thing. So I'm just trying to do what's right, you know, by the business, and in the same regard, like doing what's right by the business is doing what's right by my students as well. I mean, I don't think they want to move into a tin can, and I think they'd like probably to have about the same space as they had before. So anyway, now I think the governor has allowed martial arts training at 25% capacity in my state. Now, personally, I think that blanket statement of martial arts training, based off of the other things that he still currently considers illegal, probably shouldn't blanket Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu based off of the other things that he's saying. But if he's going to put martial arts as the thing, then fine. You know, I mean, it's technically martial arts. So I'm sure there's probably some list of restrictions or something, or some way that you're supposed to run your gym, or social distancing, or whatever the case may be. But that's enough of a signal for me that I can kind of find a spot and start getting moving here. At least him saying like, okay, you can open a gym. All right, well, now I know that like when I go to process paperwork through the township and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to open up a martial arts studio, they're not going to be like, oh yeah, by the way, those are illegal. We're not giving you a certificate of occupancy for something that's illegal to operate. So yeah, so I'm on board with trying to start up again, man. You know, I have my stuff in storage. We're ready to go. We're just looking for the right spot. I'm trying not to rush into a stupid decision. So I'm waiting, man, waiting to pull the trigger. And probably when I get back, we're gonna get super serious at trying to find a spot.
That's good, man. I'm glad to hear that. You know, it's one thing to have differences with your friends on frustration or to express, you know, any kind of, you know, sympathy. But it was, to me, it was one of those things where I don't have a fix for these people. And I would look at them and I'd do these interviews with these people who would lose their gyms or were nervous about their gyms. And it just became like, all right, let's do as much as we can to do those sort of things. And one of the things that I think that you said very eloquently, which is, hey, listen, I've got it better than most people. So I appreciate you kind of having perspective, but it doesn't make the situation any less unfortunate, especially for your students. Because my whole thing has been, you know, support your gyms because we need a gym to go back to once we really can. And, you know, for me, all I could think about was, man, obviously it's terrible, but there's that. I also, hold on, let me take a moment here. Whitbar, you just gave us an angry face. Now, listen, I think you're angry about the situation, but I don't think you're angry at the stream. So fix that. Give us a fucking heart or a laugh emoji, but don't give us an angry face, because then that tells Facebook like this sucks, and that's not what this is. So take your calm elsewhere. Anyway, I'm really glad that I took 2 minutes to yell at you, but it is important to us here on the show. Well, of course, that's pretty good. I guess the thing that we've been trying to ask in terms of perspective is, what thought process or what mentality have you used to kind of keep perspective throughout all of this? Because when I say that a lot of people are going through it themselves, it's difficult, but you as a pro, you have to almost take on two different loads. So I guess my question to you is, what exactly have you used to kind of keep as like that light at the tunnel of saying like, all right, this is going to work. This is going to work itself out?
Well, part of it is what you said. I mean, part of it is that I know I'm in a position in my career and with other opportunities that I have and other financial things that I have going on, that losing my gym and what's going on right now isn't going to make or break me. You know, it's not the end. Like, it's not the absolute, like, I'm not going to be starving anytime soon. Let's put it that way, you know? So I wasn't like intensely worried. I'm like, all right, like this is going to right itself at some point. We have even the gym itself, forget about my own, you know, finances. Even the gym itself has some money banked to be able to restart a gym at some point in the future. So when it becomes possible, like I know we're going to be able to start back up again. Will I lose some students? Probably. You know, I mean, some people are literally going to be terrified to train. Like that's another piece of this that we got to consider is like, hey man, some people's husbands and or wives probably had reservations about them training to begin with. And now, you know, you've got this, you know, got a virus going around and like, you know, people got families and this, that, and the other thing. That may be just one more reason why, like, no, you're not going to go there to fucking train. You know, I don't know how many people are going to show back up when I start a gym or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of question marks, man. And I think it's going to be very, very tough. So that is part of it, is just that I'm secure, you know, in my future right now, with a lot of other opportunities. So that's I don't know what word I want to put, what do I want to say? That's a privilege. Cause it's not, I mean, I worked really hard to get here to suggest that that's a privilege, maybe not, but in this moment, I mean, I am privileged to be in that position. Right. So that's one thing that kind of keeps me somewhat from freaking completely out. But at the same time, I have like a lot of empathy for other people that are not in that position, that maybe just lost the business that feeds their family and is not getting help and is really struggling. That's what's really troubling me more than my own situation right now. So to really tell you, like, I'm doing like one specific thing other than like, you know, just getting heavily involved in what I love, which is, you know, training and competing and teaching and all that kind of stuff. To tell you that I'm doing like one specific thing that's really getting me through it, I can't really say that I necessarily am. I mean, I will say I just recently, this has less to do with the current climate of things right now, but I just started getting like counseling, which has been really nice. That was more for the issues with my dad and his whole situation, which I kind of shed some light on recently on social media. But that's been helping a lot too. Occasionally I'll mention like kind of the state of the world to my counselor as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit and the stresses that's caused. And that's something I'll highly recommend to people. It's something that was something that wasn't a big part of my life for a meaningful period of time, and I met someone who was a counselor and really pushed me in the direction of getting some help in that way. And really kind of changed my mind and my outlook on like what counseling really looked like. I think I don't think I've necessarily had a negative look on counseling from the beginning, but I think I kind of looked at it as like, oh man, like I'm really happy right now in life. I don't need like counseling, right? That's kind of what I thought. Like I'm the happiest I've ever been. Like my life is about as good as it's ever been. Why would I need counseling, right? Like I'm doing fine. And I think what kind of changed my perspective was the idea that it's not always about necessarily like fixing a problem. Like you could be doing great, but you could be doing even better, right? If you were getting that help. It's like, I don't know. It's like any type of training, I guess, like whether it be physical, like reading a book, whatever it is. It's like you might be very intelligent, but that doesn't mean you couldn't be more intelligent, right? So that's kind of the way that I look at it. And for those of you that are really struggling, I'd highly recommend that. There are some really affordable options out there. If you need to reach out to me, and I can pass along your information to somebody, and they can help get you some of those lower cost options if you're worried about the cost or whatever the case may be. I think that's something that a lot of people could use right now in this time, because there's a lot going on everybody's minds, and it's a tough time. So I think that could help a lot of people.
It's really good. I'm glad you're doing that, man. So on a very personal level, I know that can help. And you and I talked a little bit about your situation with your dad, off air. And I appreciate you being very honest with me about that. And I have a policy of, I don't put that stuff on air. And then I saw you do it, and I saw that you were talking about it. And to me, it showed a sense of community where you said, listen, I feel equipped now to talk about it in a way that is comfortable to me and that I think can help others. And I said, okay, that's a lot of not just bravery, but it's just a lot of perspective in terms of saying like, these are real problems that affect people. And especially when we have people who are cooped up, you can start to believe that, the mental health issues will start to stack up.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. And me talking about that kind of stuff, it's like, I'd always had I always had like a firm belief that like, I had a lot of strength because I was able to like endure certain traumatic experiences or tough times or whatever the case may be, and just move past them. And like, all right, now I'm going to go, what's the next task? What's the next task? What's the next task? And that's cool. And that is a valuable skill. Don't get me wrong. Like you need to be able to do that at certain points. Like you can't just like sit in a corner and cry every time something bad happens, like forever. Right. But if you never take a moment, if you never take time to like sit with your feelings and think about, the kind of those troublesome times, that trauma that you went through, talk to somebody about it. It builds up, just like you just said, man. And it's something that you subconsciously is going to affect you every day, and you won't even realize it. You might flip out on somebody that you normally wouldn't have flipped out on. You might say to yourself like the next day, like, why the hell did I do that? And it's possibly because of some of that, those emotions that have been building up that you really haven't gotten a chance to share or even really think about. And it's so fucking easy in today's world to distract yourself from that. Like I have what I'm using right now to talk to all of you guys in my hand, my phone, is probably the absolute easiest way to escape from the reality of any of your problems at any given point in time. I can literally go on this and do a million different things with it and be completely mentally distracted and never really have to think about any of the things that are going on in my life or whatever the case may be, and that's probably why, some people, including myself, have a tough time sleeping. Sometimes you put this thing down and then it's like, oh, here's the moment where now nothing's happening. And all I have to do is think about all that stuff that I got to distract myself from throughout the rest of the day. Yeah. Right. but yeah, man, I think it's so important to start addressing those things. And in me speaking about them, that's a big part of it, is normalizing it a little bit more, having people recognize, like, alcoholism, drug abuse, those sorts of things are all things that I would say almost everybody, if it's not directly affecting them in a sense that like they have a mother, father, sister, brother that is involved with it, I'm sure they have a close friend. I'm sure they have a cousin, whatever it is, it's impacted them in some way. It's such a widespread issue that I think it's impossible to get through life without encountering it in a meaningful way with somebody that means something to you. So I think it's important for people to talk about. I think we shy away from it quite a bit, and it's kind of a very common thing within families even. I remember when I sat down with my family to talk about it, because we tried to like plan an intervention for my father. They were like talking to themselves, and they're like, "Oh yeah, like I think we do well and like talk about this as a family." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, guys, are you serious? Like, we've never really discussed this at length ever. Like, this is really the first time all of us are in a room actually discussing this issue. We've never, like, maybe we would have, like, our way of dealing with it was like, all right, we're going to make some sarcastic jokes at each other every once in a while. And, oh yeah, that's addressing the issue. Like, that's really talking about it. That's really, verbalizing your emotions to each other. I don't think so, and I think before that whole, like, organization of the family, I think they all really thought that we were communicating like that, but we weren't, so I think that was super important, and that's a big part of the reason why I opened up about all that.
Good for you. Now, how long before we get you and Keenan in counseling together for couples counseling?
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's a relationship that can be salvaged at this point. It's going to be tough. Dude.
Sons of bitches. Let me level with you. As, like, I guess, I don't know how many adults you have in your life, but there's an intrigue that happens because people like the drama side of it. Mm-hmm. And there's a part of me that pulls out of this because I say, people ask me, they're like, "Oh, did you see what happened?" I was like, I don't care. Because what happens to me is, I think of it like this. When you have very, very competitive grapplers, there's always going to be an element of everybody wants to be the best. So they find other ways to channel it. So whether it's shit talking or, saying like, "Oh, you suck, my half guard's better than yours," which to me is absolute gibberish. Mm-hmm. I can take that. But it seemed like it had crossed a certain level of, oh no, this is real. Like, these guys are really not okay. And to me, from my perspective, I just look at it like this. I think there are great breaks that happen between people where you recognize maybe we're just better off doing our own things elsewhere. But when you look at it with some perspective, all I can think of is, this is really stupid. And it's really, really silly to me. So anytime anybody asks my opinion, I'm like, I'll tell Gary the exact same thing I'll tell you about this situation, which is, it's silly. They're all amazing athletes. I wish they would all grow up. But that's where we're at. Your blanket response of nothing.
I mean, I don't know what you want me to say about
anything. I just want to tell you.
I mean, hey, listen, dude. I respect your viewpoint on that, and I think this is no different than you. I mean, maybe in the sense it's different is probably because it's more out there in the open, because none of us have bosses that are going to fire us. But this is very similar to any of you guys working in an office environment and like hating the dude that fucking sits across from you that you got to fucking deal with all the time. Like, hey man, like, there's going to be people that we get involved with in this sport that we don't like for different reasons. And they're going to say things that bother us and, act a certain way. And everybody's personalities are not going to jive, even within a team. Like, sometimes that happens. And, within a team, it's a little different because you got to find a way to get around it. When you're not actually part of a team, it's like, whatever, I hate that guy, fuck off. But, similar to if you were at work, you'd probably have to find a way to get around hating the dude that sits across from you in the office. But, yeah, man, I mean, I don't like everybody that's in this sport, man. I don't. Do I respect them for what they do? Like, do I think Keenan's like really good rapper? Sure. Do I want to be his best friend ever? No, I don't have any particular desire to do that. It's what it is, man. We had disagreements. I said what I had to say. I said how I felt about it, and you know, that's all. I'm not like waiting to fucking, you know, put cherry bombs in his mailbox or anything like that. Like there's no grudge. Like I'm not gonna see him at the next grappling tournament and fucking mean mug him. It doesn't mean that much to me, you know. I
Yeah, I
said
get it.
it's over. It's over to me, you know.
Good for you. All I'm envisioning is in 10 years when we get you guys what, like the grappler's equivalent of like a fucking jacket that they give you in your retirement. Because let's face it, in 10 years, you guys are all too non-important anymore. That we're gonna put you in some sort of Hall of Fame. And I just want you guys to be able to civilly have a conversation. Because to me, I just think like do what you need to do. But to the people who are so intrigued by it, I just say, man, it's a little sad because at your guys' core, all of you are amazing in your own way. But you don't have to get along.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where when I read it, I go, nah, I'm good. And if Gary has more butts on this one, that'd be cool. Be really helpful at this point. But that's just the perspective of those of us who are on the outside. Anyway, Gary, here's what I'm going to tell you, dude. I'm so stoked that you were able to kind of talk shop with us. I'm really glad you volunteered because honestly, this is stuff that we wouldn't know. And you put up some of the, I guess, the provisions that they had for Fight Island on your Instagram stories. And I tried looking at it and I was like, holy fuck, dude. So it's really kind of cool to get a first person's perspective as to all of those things.
Yeah.
So,
Part of the reason that I did it was because I saw, sorry to interrupt, my bad.
no, you're good.
Was because I saw you posting about it quite a bit. You know, I would see some of your posts and stuff, and like some of it was critical, some of it wasn't, some of it was just information based. But I just felt like there was something coming from you where like you would want to know, you know, kind of like what's going on. So, you know, you're a friend of mine, so I'd be happy to have that conversation with you.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
I consider you a friend of mine. I don't know if you feel the same.
Oh no, Gary. Listen, the last thing I need is to see after this conversation, Gordon puts up a post that just goes, actually, I've never liked Rafa Sparza, and Gary and him had a conversation in which I did not appreciate. You know, that's something that I'm like, oh, Jesus, get Karen off of me. But I like the fact that whenever we put up stuff, I think there's stuff that we say in jest. There's stuff that we say that is serious. But a lot of the times, it's just the matter of saying, like, treat your fucking employees right. And I think that's usually about as critical as we get. Because to me, I'm like, Fight Island is kind of wacky as a concept. Sure. But I will tell you this. We are pulling for the athletes to have their best, to get their opportunities, to do those sorts of things because, you know, we don't want people just sitting at home, not making work and not making money. So to us, I'm like, damn, dude. And we've seen a lot of our friends get some really good call-ups. And we keep waiting for you to get a fucking call up, but then we see stuff happening with 1FC, and I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, go to fucking Fight Island, Gary. If you can't have a fight right now, you might as well do something fun.
Thanks, man.
Well, let's do this. Let me go ahead and remind folks, Ryan is going to be fighting. That is going to be Wednesday, our time, Thursday over in Yas Island time. So we are very excited for that. We'll be looking for you. I can't guarantee you that we're going to not insult you, but it may happen, especially once I've had a beer or two in me. Yeah. So there is going to be that. Do you have any, departing words that you'd like to say to anybody out there? I'll go ahead and give you the floor, sir.
No, man, nothing too crazy. Stay safe out there. I wish the best for all of you guys. And I know, there's so many different things going on. Like I wake up every fucking day, like hoping like everything's just going to be better. And like most days it feels like everything's getting worse and worse. And it's super stressful. It's super mentally taxing. And, I just, I really want all of you guys to find the support and help that you need, reach out. And that's another big thing right now. Like reach out to some of your friends. Like a lot of people are locked up. A lot of people are sharing the same feelings and emotions. Even if you're not going to go that counseling route, you're not going to make that phone call, or you're not going to go that route. I would start reaching out to some people and have some real conversations about your feelings, about what's going on, because you need to get that stuff off your chest, especially when you're pinned down and you're stuck in the same place with the same people all the time, or maybe just alone. So I definitely highly recommend that for you guys. And other than that, keep a lookout for me cornering Ryan Benoit. I think he's going to be co-main event on Wednesday, July 15th, 16th. And also possibly cornering Jared Gordon, because I think he lost one or two of his corners to the COVID stuff. So yeah, look out for me there, and exciting stuff. See you guys next time.
I forgot to ask, do you get to watch the fights tomorrow, or do you get like a remote?
I don't know if Raf's frozen or what.
Sorry,
or if it's over. I'm not really sure.
No, I'm back. You should hear me, right? Do you hear me, Gary?
I hear you now.
Okay, great. No, what I was saying is, do you get to watch tomorrow? Do you watch from a remote location? Are you on a TV or something?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think I was just discussing this with one of my friends. Nobody's brought this up to us as to whether or not we're going to be able to go watch. So I'm guessing not. I could be wrong. I mean, if I find out that we have the opportunity to go in person and watch, I'll be there, because I mean, we only train like once, maybe twice a day, depending upon what Ryan's feeling. So I'd be down to go and watch the fights for sure. And
who do you have in the main event?
Usman. I think Usman wins. I think it's just, number one, he's probably more well prepared, and number two, I've seen Masvidal cave to pressure fighters in the past. Particularly Damian Maia gave him some trouble. Particularly, who else was it? I was just thinking of. Man, I can't remember. But anyway,
Wonder Boy and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, Wonder Boy is a very different style than somebody like Masvidal. But yeah, so like Usman. But yeah, I don't know. That's the way I feel. I could be dead wrong. We'll see. It is possible that the better striking could play a big role if his ability to evade and keep himself off the fence is good. I mean, I don't know. I give him a chance. I mean, he's a tough dude. I'm not going to say it's definitely going to be an ass beating or anything like that.
We're very much looking forward to it. We'll keep an eye out for you. Stick around. I'll talk to you off air, but our thanks to Garry Tonon for being a live coverage reporter for us. Let me go and close this on out for you guys. Hey, just a real quick reminder. We want to say thank you to everybody who's watching. Tomorrow we should be in. I'm not sure if I'm doing a Polaris fight companion. Possibly. We might do that with Josh Palmer. I did send him a note. I'm going to find out today if we're doing that. But we will for sure have a fight companion for tomorrow's Fight Island extravaganza, UFC 251. Be there for that. We'll also have a fight companion for Submission Underground 16, which begs the question, can Craig Jones give Mason Fowler even more diseases? We'll find out that question and much, much more. Again, we want to remind you guys, if you get the opportunity, go to No Gi BJJ Gear, buy yourself some stuff over there. Use the promotional code Grappling Hour 15. That's Grappling Hour 15 for 15% off of whatever you put in your cart. It helps us on the show, and I believe it helps you. Because let's be honest, all of us probably went up a size with Corona. I know I have. I'm speaking for me, but I also think I'm speaking for you as well. It's been a great day for grappling. My name is Rafa Esparza. We'll see you back on the mats.